Okay. Official photo.
Oh là là, ça prend, putain, ça prend sa mère. Vas-y, balance ta sauce.
Parce qu'avant, c'est regardé.
Good morning, it's Tuesday the 14th of July. You're watching Euronews and this is Europe Today. Welcome to the program, I'm Stefan Grobe. Coming up, the tensions in the Persian Gulf remain high. US President Trump said the United States would take over the Strait of Hormuz and charge a fee of 20% for all cargo shipped through the waterway. Earlier, Trump declared the strait will remain open with or without Iran. His comments came on the heels of fresh strikes in the Gulf, where Iran and the US have been exchanging heavy fire for days. The European Union was again unable to secure sanctions against Patriarch Kirill, the head of Russia's Orthodox Church, after Bulgaria vetoed the proposal during closed-door negotiations in Brussels, citing religious and cultural reasons. Patriarch Kirill, a highly controversial figure with political influence, has been accused of spreading revisionist propaganda to justify the war in Ukraine. For the reasons of Bulgaria's veto, we spoke to the country's foreign minister. The overall terrorist threat to Europe remains high, with jihadist terrorism still the primary concern. That's the key message of the latest EU terrorism situation and trend report. The report also highlights growing concerns over online and youth radicalization, lone actors, geopolitical spillover from conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine, and the convergence of terrorism with cyber and hybrid threats. Hungary's parliament has approved by a large majority the 17th Amendment to the Constitution, thereby making it possible to remove the current president of the Republic, Tamás Súlyog. Prime Minister Peter Magyar said this was a key step that would allow Viktor Orban's political puppets to be replaced. On the day after the amendment enters into force, Súlyog's mandate will end and thereafter Parliament will elect a head of state to serve until the new constitution takes effect, but for no more than 5 years. And tonight, all football attention turns to Dallas, where the first World Cup semi-final takes place between France and Spain. But the European Football Classic is overshadowed by a controversy that mixes sport, politics, and racism. We'll tell you why. But our top story is the situation in the Middle East, where the ceasefire seems to be disintegrating every day a bit more. Yesterday, President Trump surprised the world by declaring the Strait of Hormuz forever open, secured by the United States, who would charge a 20% fee on all cargo for guaranteeing safe passage through the waterway. Previously, Trump had railed against Iranian tolls on the strait and vowed the U.S. would reopen it toll-free under the fragile peace deal agreed between Washington and Tehran. Iran's military said any attempt by the U.S. to transit through the strait without Tehran's authorization would be strongly confronted. For more, let's head over to Doha to bring in our correspondent Adel Halim. Good morning, Adel. So, a lot has happened overnight. Just bring us up to date. What's the latest?
Well, Stefan, this conflict has escalated significantly overnight. The biggest development is an attack on commercial shipping. The UAE says 2 of its oil tankers were targeted by Iranian strikes while passing through the Strait of Hormuz. 1 Indian crew member was killed and 8 others injured, including 2 Ukrainian nationals. The U.S. has also stepped up its military campaign. Overnight, U.S. Central Command said it carried out a 5-hour wave of strikes across southern Iran, targeting missile sites, drones, and coastal defense systems across Bandar Abbas and several other locations. Iran says it responded by targeting a U.S. vessel and American military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. And Jordan just recently said it intercepted 4 missiles entering its airspace overnight. So this is no longer just a confrontation between Washington and Tehran. Commercial shipping has become targeted. Gulf states are being drawn in. And countries, and we're seeing military action across several parts of the region. The concern now is that every new strike opens up the possibility of miscalculation, with U.S. forces, Iranian forces, and several Gulf states all operating in such close proximity. The risk of this conflict is becoming more and more real. Stefan?
And Adil, obviously the American naval blockade was the other big development. Explain what that means in practice.
This is another major escalation, Stefan. From 8 p.m. GMT today, the U.S. says it will enforce a naval blockade on ships traveling to and from Iranian ports while allowing other commercial traffic to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. President Donald Trump announced this move on social media, saying the United States would become what he called, quote, guardian of the Hormuz Strait. He also proposed charging a 20% fee on commercial cargo using this waterway. Interestingly, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi didn't reject that idea completely. In fact, he agreed with that whoever protects shipping through the strait should be compensated. But he insists that Iran, not the United States, has always been and will remain the strait's guardian. Now, the strait itself isn't closed, and that's important to note. Around 1/5 of the world's traded oil passes through that narrow stretch of water, so keeping it open is critical for global energy supplies and international trade. The question now is whether the U.S. can enforce this blockade and without triggering even more military action. But given everything we've seen over the last 24 hours, that's becoming increasingly unlikely.
All right, Adel Halim in Doha, thank you so much for this update. A meeting of foreign affairs ministers in Brussels yesterday promised a lot and delivered little, including the EU's 21st sanctions package against Russia and a credible path for imposing sanctions on illegal Israeli settlements. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujin spoke with Bulgarian Foreign Minister Velislava Petrova-Chamova at the tail end of the talks. She started by asking why Sofia worked so hard and was so successful removing the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, from the EU's Russian blacklist.
When you have sanctions that have purely symbolic measure but no economic consequence on Russia, what you are risking is that in a country particularly that is a Eastern Orthodox country such as Bulgaria, you create the environment for brewing anti-European rhetoric, or a sense that we are intervening with church matters, or even further, just creating a martyr figure out of somebody who has been blamed to be triggering propaganda. So if you are applying sanctions that have no economic impact, but in the same time have the risk to cause division or even worse, Eurosceptic waves, that's why we're not supporting it, and that's why we're really happy that in the end the name was dropped out of the sanction package, and now the package is in a way that we can really support, and we hope that we reach an agreement on this, and other countries that still have reservations manage to lift them soon.
But your predecessor, the former Bulgarian Foreign Minister Daniel Mitov, criticised this. He stated that this isn't a religious decision, that the EU should condemn an individual that uses his status as the head of Russia's Orthodox Church to justify Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine and the murder of innocent civilians. What do you make of this criticism?
I think here we are mixing condemnation with sanctioning. We need to make sure that we continue to promote and propose sanctions that can have real impact and not devaluing, even to the public, the view that the sanctions could be anything else but a tool to bring Russia closer to the negotiating table and apply economic pressure to Russia higher than to any member state. This should be the ultimate purpose of sanctions.
But you condemn Patriarch Kirill and his comments regarding Russia's invasion of Ukraine?
In this case, we are condemning any form of aggression-promoting activity. When you talk about one figure, such as him, that is the symbol of the Orthodox Church, is not a matter of how do you judge or criticize or not criticize any activity that promotes further escalation, or anybody promoting further escalation rather than promoting peace is a figure that we cannot really support. But it doesn't mean that we should apply sanctions.
You're going to Ukraine on the 15th of July, and we know that the oil price cap should be revised before this date so it doesn't benefit the Kremlin. Are you worried about showing up empty-handed or alongside a mechanism that potentially benefits Russia?
I'm going to Kiev as a follow-up of a number of meetings that our Prime Minister had with President Zelensky, where Ukraine very clearly expressed interest and desire to work with Bulgaria, also bilaterally, to strengthen in line of strengthening energy cooperation. So I'm not afraid about going empty-handed. I'm more thinking about how can we work more together to help Ukraine face the challenges in front of it, which are going to be even higher as the winter approaches.
An options paper proposed by the European Commission regarding a partial or outright trade ban between the European Union and illegal Israeli settlements was also discussed at the Foreign Affairs Council on Monday. What is Sophia's position on this?
This is a difficult discussion, but because we've had many hypothetical discussions to date. It's the first time we have some form of options, not a concrete proposal still. First, we all want an improvement of the humanitarian situation, and second, we are all in support of two-state solution. And on that basis, we are looking at any proposed measures as a means to those two objectives. But we believe that we need to keep our thinking around any measures we apply with that objective in mind. Would they make Israel more willing to participate in improving the humanitarian situation? Would they make Israel more willing to participate in future peace efforts, and would they limit the role of Hamas there as well? So it's more within the objectives of finding sustainable peace there rather than individual symbolic measures in one or the other direction.
All right, thank you so much for this report. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has called for stronger protections for children online, saying the evidence presented by a special panel should help shape future European policy. Social media is not a toy, von der Leyen said, warning that allowing big tech unrestricted access to our children will only consign another generation to more mental harm, addiction and misery. But what may be good news for parents is, for others, just an attempt by Brussels to censor the internet. What's at stake? Noah Schumann has some answers.
Posts circulating on social media claim the EU is planning to censor the internet by introducing a so-called digital passport. The claims refer to the European Commission's New Age verification app designed to help protect children from harmful or age-inappropriate online content. The controversy centers on how the system will work. To set up the app, users will need to verify their age using an identity document, such as a passport or a national ID card. Once activated, the app is designed to confirm only whether someone is old enough to access a service, without sharing personal details such as their name or date of birth. And critics argue this amounts to online censorship. The European Commission says the app is simply intended to prevent under-18s from accessing content or services that may be harmful to them. The app is expected to be rolled out by the end of 2026, once adopted by member states or integrated into national European digital identity wallets. Some posts have also revived the claim that the EU plans to ban or block VPNs to enforce the new system. The Cube has already debunked this claim, which stems from an EU research briefing that noted that VPNs can sometimes be used to bypass age checks. but the document was not an EU policy proposal and did not call for restrictions on VPNs. After questions were raised during the launch of the age verification app, Henna Virkkunen, the European Commissioner responsible for tech sovereignty and security, later clarified that the aim is to make age checks more effective, not to restrict VPNs. Her office also confirmed to theCUBE that there are no plans to crack down on VPNs.
All right, our fact-checker Noah Schumann there reporting. Thank you very much. And from the internet to Azerbaijan. The country at the boundary of Western Asia and Eastern Europe is considering leaving the Council of Europe, the continent's leading human rights organization. President Ilham Aliyev made the announcement in a major speech at a media forum in the Azeri city of Shusha. Aliyev said Azerbaijan was considering leaving the Council of Europe entirely, not just suspending its membership, after the Parliamentary Assembly stripped Baku's delegation of its voting rights in 2024. Our correspondent Jane Witherspoon was at the conference and sent this report.
Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev has said that his country are considering a full withdrawal from the Council of Europe. Speaking here at the 4th Shusha Global Media Forum, he said that the Secretary General of the Council has been in touch and asked him not to do so and to find a solution to the issue.
It was not us who ruined relations, it was them. They deprived us from the voting right without any legitimate ground. So what should be done is that they should restore the voting rights of Azerbaijani delegation, and after that, Azerbaijani delegation will come back. It should be exactly, as I said, not vice versa. We didn't do anything wrong with them, therefore it was them who made that unjust move, and it should be them who should step back to find the courage and to admit that they made a big mistake.
He also announced further oil shipments to Europe following agreements with Austria and Germany. Now, Azerbaijan currently supplies to 16 countries. 10 of them are members of the EU. And of course, these announcements come after recent visits to Baku from Ursula von der Leyen, as well as Antonio Costa.
We are number one in the world with this geography of supplying by pipeline gas. And more to come. We still are in negotiations with some members of European Union, and in order to start supply and in order to increase the supply.
A dialogue of optimism and diplomacy for the future of European relations here. Jane Witherspoon, Euronews in Shusha, Azerbaijan.
All right, Jane Witherspoon, thank you very much. And now, the latest from the World Cup. Yes, it's showtime again. Fans around the world, especially in Europe, are turning their attention to Dallas tonight. The first World Cup semi-final between France and Spain kicks off at 9 p.m. Central European Summer Time in the Texas metropolis. It's a soccer classic that many already consider to be a preview of the final. But the whole event is being overshadowed by an unsavory controversy over the ethnic origins of many French players, sparked by Mariano Rajoy. The former Conservative Prime Minister said in an op-ed that Team France was without Frenchmen, an apparent reference to the fact that the French squad includes people who either have immigrant backgrounds or hail from former French colonies. Our correspondent Maria Munoz Morillo in Madrid has the latest.
The political fallout is escalating after former Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy faced widespread condemnation for comments in an op-ed targeting the French national football team. Both Madrid and Paris have swiftly labeled the remarks as racist. But the Spanish public is divided. On one hand, there is severe backlash, especially from progressive sectors and government officials who feel these comments tarnish Spain's image and contradict the values of modern multicultural sports. On the other hand, some conservative circles view the criticism as politically exaggerated, though the general consensus is one of discomfort. Will this overshadow the highly anticipated match between Le Bleu and La Roja? The short answer is on the pitch, no. In the press box, maybe. While fans and players are focused on the match, this diplomatic role ensures that the political subtext of the game may dominate headlines long after the final whistle.
Maria Munoz Morillo reporting from Madrid. Thank you very much. And that's it for today. By the way, it's Bastille Day in France, the French National Day. Maybe that gives their squad a strategic advantage tonight. For more on that story or anything we're covering, do visit Euronews.com. Now we've come to the end of this edition of Europe Today. As always, we would love to hear from you, your questions, your points of view on any topic you would like us to cover. You can reach us at europetoday@euronews.com. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Stefan Grober. Take care and see you tomorrow.